For months, a Chinese fleet, the last major fleet they had been chasing us. Around the Moluccas, they had been trying to catch the fleet. They had got near them on multiple occasions, but they never engaged. After the invasion was set, we were about to move south to assist in the invasion of other islands, but that's when the Chinese fleet came upon us. I had the privilege of being aboard the battleship, well, one of our battleships. It was a large fleet. We had plenty of ships. 7 large capital ships, and the rest were a sprigging of escorts. I also had the privilege of being aboard. I had been given this rare opportunity by the Emperor to oversee combat situations. Of course, the Admiral would have more power than me, but I could at least make some decisions. To shock and horror of the entire fleet, the Chinese fleet had maneuvered themselves right in the middle of the channel, near straits and islands, making sure we had very limited room to maneuver, and they came across our front, crossing the T, as it were. Hatsuse, the leader of the formation, realized that with the amount of light ships going there and the amount of torpedoes they most accurately had, they weren't going to have a choice. Her commander, seeing the hopelessness of the situation, gave a simple order to his ship. Any man that doesn't need to be aboard, get off. His men, obeying, listened to his order. They kept aboard a skeleton crew, if you could even call it that, just enough to keep the ship running and to keep firefighting efforts going. It's estimated, by our estimates, that at least a third of the crew were able to evacuate, and he saved their lives. Hatsuse sunk 2 ships, but in return took at least 6 torpedoes. And, well, she was lost. I was in shock aboard the next battleship, Kanko, and I could see the burning wreck of the Hatsuse up ahead. I gave an order that every launch and ship's boat in the fleet that could be launched to save the crew could be launched. And we did our best. Surprisingly, a large majority of the crew survived, shaken up and devastated over the loss of losing a battleship that was only designed in 1915. She'd barely seen enough service, and yet she actually had saved the rest of the battle fleet. With her commander maneuvering her straight into the enemy formation, deliberately trying to break their T, or rather their crossing of the T, he made sure that the Hatsuse was the target, not the rest of the ships in the rear, and quite frankly, I believe we owe him our lives. He went down with the ship as it sank early the next morning. She proved to be too damaged to save, flooding in all her lower compartments, and her engines had gone out. And we will be eternally grateful to him. I've established a memorial commission to erect a memorial to the crew that was lost, engraving their names on a stone that should be left in a park as a living memorial to them and to the other casualties. The light cruiser Matsushima took quite a beating and was later sunk, and a spattering of destroyers, including Sakura, who had netted herself a kill, were lost. The good news is that in some twisted way, her sacrifice and the sacrifice of the 5 other ships gave us the keys to victory. My British friends have reported to me that the People's Republic of China, that communists, have nothing more than 7 ships? 7 that are capable of fighting A further 3 are in port. And I'm trying to dispatch any ships to go bombard the facilities where they're being repaired. Any advantage we can get, right now, on the cusp of victory. I've also learned that the army has finally begun a full-scale offensive into Manchuria. I call it a bit too late, and I've already reprimanded my army counterparts. However, in my personal life, I have good news. A son and now a daughter have been born to me, and my wife, and I think she's going to make me try for another. But that is not important to my naval duties. What is important is that right now our shipyards are very much over capacity. Civilian ships have been needing repairs, and our merchant fleet was devastated by a Chinese surprise attack that damaged about half of the convoy ships. With them and our merchant marine fleet in limited supply, we had to postpone the construction of some of our capital ships that are coming out, the Amagi class. I authorized it, although it was with much hesitation. We need those ships ready to go in case another war breaks out. In the meantime, I guess I should, continue back. After the battle, I was still a bit shaken up, and I was asked to go back with the crew to Japan to report and to allow them their temporary leave to memorialize and, recover from the loss of such a ship. I did announce, however, that it would be released in the press. I didn't want to keep it a secret for too long. I put the story out. I wrote the after-action report from the Conco, so I put out what I saw, crew testimonies, and, I can say that over the past 2 months it's been well received by the world press. Our ships fly a flag embroidered with the kanji spelling out Hatsuse. Our marines and our army troopers, who's going through the jungles of Indonesia and the hills of Manchuria, shout, "Remember Hatsuse, remember the Moluccas." And perhaps that will be her legacy. But it still isn't easy comforting the widows and the families of those who have passed, those who are lost. It's been a difficult journey, and I'm not sure if I'll ever go into combat again. Especially after seeing what the fleet did. Sure, we acquitted ourselves well, but let's just say the seas off the Moluccas were littered with blood and oil. The smell of burning fuel and ammunition being cooked off in flash fires aboard sinking ships is not something I can easily get out of my head. On several nights I was woken by nightmares and accidentally woke my young children who were sleeping, and then my poor wife and I had to comfort them back to sleep. I decided to go to a doctor, and they simply called it shell shock, but I think we might want to look into it. At this point, I'm not even sure if the fleet is ready for another war. The loss of a capital ship, especially one like the Hatsuse, a more modern ship, like anything else, is disturbing. It's scary, even. It's not like she was an older ship. I mean, Hatsuse had many kills to her name. She had acquitted herself very well in many battles, and, now she's gone. Looking through my records and what notes I've kept over my years of serving with the fleet, I've noted that she was present at, let's see here, two major battles, some minor skirmishes, and, the battle that would be her last. Her final tally is 6. 6 ships sent to the bottom by her guns. And perhaps that's her legacy. But I have heard something else. The people want another Hatsuse, another ship to bear her name, to carry on the glory. There is something in the works, an idea I've had for some time to build a new battleship class of a design I've had, quite frankly, sitting on my desk for months. But we need shipyard space. I might reduce the Konko class down to two ships as a pair, who will go around serving their duties and shall lead the new Middle Eastern Fleet and the Persian Gulf Command that we've set up with our new commonwealths and dominions over there. They want a fleet to help support them, and they're, of course, saying that they don't want the main fleet, and which is fair, but they do need something in case perhaps the Soviets launch a surprise attack, or an Italian navy starts raiding in the Persian Gulf against, I don't know, shipping of an enemy nation. The plan's been sitting there, and I've never really acted on it. I'll look into it. Maybe the Hatsuse could join the new class. Not as the flagship, but maybe as one of them. Although I must remember this. Victory comes at a cost, and, well, Hatsuse paid the ultimate price.